Hello. Welcome to the Goods. I know that you have been looking at us wearing our Fly Goods podcast gear and wondering where can we get those. Well, guess what? We have the answers for you. We have it here, Teespring. Go to Teespring and you will find all of this glorious merchandising, from t-shirts to mugs to, well, there's other toys, but we can't talk about that now. Go to Teespring. Enjoy our memorabilia. And we're back! All flash!
No substance.
So today's top 5 is the top 5 80s sitcoms. Now, if you have been following us, you know that we actually started the sitcom love based off of WandaVision and all the love and homages that it's paying to these old TV shows.
Right.
And you saw in the 90s, me and Carla, threw it out there, had some pretty good ones.
Yeah. I mean,
she was the youngin', but didn't know what she was talking about at the time, so that's all right.
when I looked at you guys' list, there were some questions, but I wasn't on the show, so what the fuck can I say?
Exactly.
All I can do is comment it.
And now you are on it, and this is the 80s now.
Because I'm old.
And this is pretty much when we were, 10, 11, 12,
Yeah.
and so forth. So we really did grow up to these
Sir,
shows.
I was a mere infant in the 80s.
I was not. I was 40 years old. So, Terrence, go first.
All right, so I master debated on this list for quite some time.
That's pretty strong.
Debated on that list?
No, she master debated.
I master debated.
That's pretty. That's yeah.
It's
That means it's hard.
Extreme
It's-
level of debating here.
Yeah. It's very extreme, high level.
Sometimes it takes some stress relief and some stroke.
It takes a lot of stroking to get where you want to get, but you really
How
can't.
am I going to get that
struggle.
answer out if I don't just keep trying to just
Exactly.
pull it out of my...
Can you go first, please?
Number 5!
Number 5!
All right, so this is where I kind of went back and forth with. I didn't know what I want to put as my number 5, but I felt like this was, in this spot, this was suitable. And I went with Three's Company.
Fucker.
Three's Company is a great show, and actually was the first kind of heavily sexual innuendo type show where I was probably too young to really be trying to get the jokes, but I got them, and then it kind of made you feel a little tingly, like, ooh, you know what? This show is a little spicier than I need to be doing for a little kid. But you know what? John Ritter as Jack Tripper, and then Chrissy and Janet. They were like the hottest girls ever for a little child to be seen on TV for me when I was young. And Chrissy playing the, Suzanne Summers?
Yeah.
Suzanne Summers playing the dumb blonde. Oh my God, that was a fantasy for me for quite some time. But then she played the dumb blonde, and then Janet was the more of the uptight brunette. Maybe that's how I have a thing for brunettes right now. And John Ritter, stuck in the middle of it, having to play a gay man just so he can be a roommate to two girls in the 80s, which is, I don't understand why that was so taboo back then, but because of the whole thing with Mr. Furley and him not wanting a guy to live with, because Mr. Furley was trying to have sex with both of them. What it was, he was like,
I think that if
Jack Tripper was moving in on his territory.
If he would have just left him alone, Jack could have hooked him up.
He could have hooked up Mr. Furley, and then he could have been staying there rent-free from now on. But anyway, so if you ever get a chance to see Three's Company, for all of the time you think about a big mashup of sexes and how are they gonna coexist and still be friends, this is where it comes from.
Okay.
It comes from this, maybe bosom buddies. Shit! Honorable mention.
Number 4!
I gotta say bosom buddies now. I'm not going to, but damn it! Honorable mention. Alf.
Alf is your number 4.
I went with number 4. So I love Alf. I feel like later in the series, they kind of ran out of stuff to do with Alf. But for the first couple of seasons, it was the funniest show that I had saw, and I liked the fact that he was a puppet, because if they had done anything CGI back in the 80s, it would have sucked. If they had done anything where you really grotesque as an alien, it wouldn't have worked. He had to be a lovable sock puppet thing. I don't know who made him. I always feel like Jim Henson had something to do with it.
I think he did.
Yeah, but but the guy who actually did the voice of Alf, amazing.
Carla, check that out.
I do not know if he did
Who
any
made
of the
Alf?
voice work after Alf, but that dude was amazing. He was funny. His timing was the best. And I always feel like the family for Alf were basically just to kind of like be something as a plot device.
They were just a filler.
Yeah, it was just a plot device for him to just kind of like breathe and do his own thing. I love Alf more and more, but like I said, they started to get in.
And he loved the kitty.
Random things. He loves the kitty. He eats it every day. That's an Alf joke. That's an Alf joke.
Yeah, you got so excited.
Okay.
By Paul Fusco.
Okay. And he designed the puppet?
He created, he voiced it, and he puppeted it.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, Paul, you're awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. All right, this is where my blackness steps in.
Webster.
The Cosby.
Oh.
Webster's father. The Cosby Show. I know. We're gonna talk about Bill Cosby, but we're gonna gloss over that.
Yeah, because he wasn't a bartender. He wasn't a bartender in this.
Now that joke's out. Look, Bill Cosby. I'm gonna say this. Bill Cosby in the 80s was a father figure.
Yes, he was.
For most of America at that time.
Yes, and
did
did good on sweaters.
He did great for Coogi. Coogi sweaters, man, they actually became a thing because he wore all, I mean, that's literally the name, dude. I'm not making that up. That's it.
He was named the greatest television dad.
Yeah, he was at the time. It was like,
It's Al Bundy.
it was such an impact for families and definitely in the black community. I have you're my best friend, but I have a best friend from Detroit, and which is funny. His name is Philip.
Uncle Phil. All right.
Yeah, no, Terrence and Philip.
Terrence and Philip. Hey, that's right.
But
Did y'all look for treasure?
he went to go stay with his dad during the summer, and he would always talk about that he always had to go to bed early, except on Thursdays because it was Cosby night.
It was Cosby
and you
night.
had to watch Cosby Show.
And that was back in the famous the must-see TV thing.
Yeah, it was right.
Yeah.
Look, the show for what it was an amazing show. Looking aside from all the things that may have happened outside of the show, but the show itself, I mean, it spawned so many careers and so many spin-offs from A Different World to, I feel like something else came out of this too.
I don't know.
I'm reading.
A Different World came from this, definitely.
Definitely came. Yeah.
A Different World, and then like the cast grew and changed, and like everybody kind of found their own thing from this show. Like I said, it was a staple in American households back in the 80s. It's a sad thing that now it's kind of tied into his own kind of
To be
dilemma.
fair, Cliff Huxtable compared to Bill Cosby, two different things.
I mean, two different people.
So let's
Cliff
not. I don't
Huxtable
want
didn't drink at all.
Exactly. So let's not tarnish that. Let's not tarnish Cliff Huxtable. That's not his fault.
Right.
But to your point, yeah, it's completely separate.
I
but
wish
it was
they
great.
could still show it on.
Yeah,
like,
it was still a
Nick
good
at
show.
Night or what's the other?
Well, not at night. They need to show it during.
They're trying to do.
They don't do it anymore?
No, they took it off because of Bill Cosby.
Oh.
It got removed because of TV Land. That's what I was thinking. TV Land, and they immediately took it off the air.
Okay.
All right.
Number 2.
All right, so number 2. I flirted with this as number 1, but I didn't. So I went with Full House. And I know you hate it.
I hate Full House.
I know, but you're wrong. Because Full House is an amazing show.
That show sucks.
It did not suck. Uncle Jesse
No.
and Aunt Jackie. It was Jackie, right?
Who?
Hey, Roseanne. Come on.
No, not that wasn't Roseanne. Right? Roseanne!
Love you, babe.
No, not Roseanne. I'm just like, that was another 80s show.
Yes, I know.
And who was the girl that he dated that was on trial right now who actually did time in jail?
Lori Loughlin.
Lori Loughlin. What was her character's name? Rebecca.
And Becky.
Aunt Becky. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Aunt Becky.
From Roseanne.
Yes. And then Dave Coulier, which I can't remember his actual.
That's his name, Dave Coulier.
Yeah, I know, but what was his screen name?
Oh. Joey, yeah.
Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey from Detroit. Dave Coulier is actually from Detroit. And always wore a Detroit Red Wings shirt. So when I watched the show, I was like, yes. I mean, you're not cool, but yes.
How about Bob Saget? Bob Saget.
Who knew Bob Saget was that vulgar? I thought that he was the next thing as like America's TV dad. And then when you see his stand-up, you're like, whoa, my ears. What are you talking about? I wanted some PG stuff. And then
He was
he's all
hip,
like,
bro.
Oh my God. But anyway, so you grew up with those kids, the cool uncles that were there to kind of help him raise with no mother figure. It did seem very gay when I think about it later on in life, but
It was basically 3 men and a baby.
it was 3 men and a baby.
And
It
a
was 3
shitload
men-
of babies.
It was.
3 babies.
I mean, Uncle Jesse was the only cool one because he was the only one that had a girlfriend.
Yes.
But that was my number 2.
Number 2. Okay, number 1.
No!
Oh, I'm curious. Go ahead.
It's Happy Days. Happy Days.
Happy Days?
Happy Days, all the way up until they jumped the shark. Look, Arthur Fonzarelli, Henry Winkler as the Fonz was the coolest thing that you knew of.
I'm not arguing that.
There's like we're gonna be Fonzie, and how's Fonzie act?
Cool.
Thank you. We're gonna be a bunch of fun. Look, for a show based on the 50s that actually aired in the 80s, it really got you into the 50s.
How about Miyagi?
I mean,
Miyagi's in it. How about Opie Cunningham? He was in it.
Look, this is where Ron Howard got his start. It was like, who knew that he was gonna become the director that he is today? Solo aside, but
Well, we still want to know. Well, we still want to know why there were no bros in Night Shift about pimps.
True.
You know who was the director of the pilot?
Who was the director of the pilot Happy Days?
George Lucas.
Makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense.
Makes a lot of
Makes sense. But Happy Days is a great show. Like I said, it was based in the 50s. They actually started doing a lot of 50 shows because then it spun off into Laverne and Shirley and things of that sort. But for a show based in the 50s, it was like you kind of forget that it's the 50s and you just kind of live in who the characters are and what they do. And like I said, Arthur Fonzarelli was the best part of that show. But you liked all the characters. You wanted to know what was going on with Richie and how his life was gonna go and who he was gonna date, his little sister and Tom Bosley and who was the mom?
Marion Ross.
Marion Ross. It was like how they were gonna do, and then when they worked Ron Howard out of the show, how Fonzie moved above them in the garage, and like the show became the Fonzie show.
No, it became Joni Loves Chachi.
Joni Love Shots. That's another spinoff.
Seven spin-offs.
Yeah, so
7
that show
spin-offs.
they started everybody's
Hold on, wait a
career.
minute, wait. Carla, what are the 7 spin-offs that Happy Days created?
So it's
Laverne and Shirley.
Lansky Beauties.
Never heard
Mork
that
and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy did come from there.
Out of the Blue.
Never heard of it.
Joni Loves Chachi.
Joni Loves
Yeah.
Chachi.
The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang.
Got that.
I-
That's how.
Animated.
That was
And
animated.
the other one animated, Laverne and Shirley with the Fonz.
I've
Ooh,
never
wow,
seen-
didn't know that.
Did never seen that.
You heard it here first?
There you go. That's why it's my
Well,
number 1.
3rd or 4th. All right, that was your number 1.
That
Happy
was my
Days,
number
number
one,
1.
yeah.
Okay, my number 5. And the reason why I called you a fucker was because it was the same 5, and that's Three's Company.
I told you we were gonna have the same list.
We're not gonna have the same list. This is probably about the extent of how the
This
same.
is why we needed Art, so that way he could have gave us something different.
This is actually this is straight up one of my favorite shows of all time. Now, when this show came out, actually, I lived in Monterey, California, so I was like really like a special tie to this place because this one took place in Santa Monica, California.
Yeah.
So I was just drawn to this show, and you were making good points as far as the pretty much everything around it, but I thought that there was a lot of awareness too. Now there's other shows, and I'll talk about it in my honorable mentions, but there was a lot of awareness as far as showing the gay pride and talking about homosexuality, as far as the fear when you look at the Ropers and when you look at Mr. Furley and how they reacted to Jack and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, on the straight side, you saw...
Oh, in Happy Days?
No, in Three's Company.
Okay.
On the straight side, you saw like, damn, he's living with 2 gorgeous women. Like,
Yeah.
they're just
Oh yeah, because
absolutely
he
gorgeous.
definitely had to. Yeah, I was talking about Happy Days for a second, but it's like, but yeah, he definitely had to pretend to be
Yeah.
gay to be able to do it. Yeah.
Right. So the thing that always brought that was always interesting to me was, besides John Ritter's physical comedy, which I thought that he was like phenomenal as a physical comedian in the falls that he took, the bumps he took, everything.
And named Jack Tripper too.
And it's named Jack Tripper, and he was always falling. But the physical comedy that he put into it was just comedy gold. I mean, and then you got Richard Klein, who played his friend Larry, that was just freaking hilarious.
Larry was
Like,
the beginning of Quagmire.
Yeah, he definitely was. That's a damn good point. And some would argue, and Seth MacFarlane, if you watch this, that Quagmire is based off Larry.
Yeah,
because
I would say that he definitely.
straight up, man, that's Quagmire all day. Straight up, ladies, man. Hardly saw him with ladies, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Richard Klein played it to perfection. And even when they transitioned from the Ropers which was a spin-off because they spinned off
Right.
to the Ropers, to Don Knotts, who
Right.
was a comedy legend already with
Right.
the Apple Dumpling Gang and all the stuff that he did for Disney and
Right.
freaking Andy Griffith Show and all that. It was a great transition because he freaking was comedy gold too. So
Is Andy Griffith Show going to be in our 50s?
50s? I don't think we're gonna do. Well, we should do 50s.
We should, I mean, we watched TV Land.
But anyway, so that transition was great, and as it progressed, it was just getting better and better until it went to Three's a Crowd and went to shit. But anyway, either way, Three's Company, number 5.
Number 4!
Number 4 was the Jeffersons, baby.
The Jeffersons. It's an honorable mention. It's not as close to me as the Cosby Show was.
Okay, so there's
Jeffersons, a great show. I would
4-year difference between the two of us,
Look,
right?
hold up, look. Sherman Helmsley rocked like Afro puff ball head.
No, it was like the Afro Puff, like the Afro Puff headphones, and then like all this was bald right here.
Look, he made it work, and you never once thought about it. You never once thought about it. Jefferson's a great show. Didn't make my top 5 list, but a great show.
All right, so and we're gonna probably talk about it when we get into the 70s, but All in the Family actually stemmed two of the most beloved and best rated black comedy sitcoms of all time, and that's Good Times and the Jeffersons. Jeffersons were actually the Bunker's neighbors, where Florida Evans and everybody from Good Times, she was their maid.
Right.
So it was just a great spinoff. The Jeffersons was absolutely fantastic, and when you start off and you have the piece of the mom and the going back and forth, transitioning to Florence, and the racial the racial messages that it was showing, especially when they were going with Roxy Roker and Tom and Helen Willis, an interracial couple. I mean, it was highlighting a lot of things in prime time when it came to stuff like that. And
Didn't it spawn the word honky?
And it spawned the word honky. And my favorites were the Dozens, when him and his friend were playing the Dozens and they were going back and forth. It was just so freaking awesome. But anyway, you said it perfectly. Sherman Hemsley was absolutely just fantastic in this. And you know what? Hey, Wheezy, man, she was just amazing too.
She was.
They were all great. So
Which is funny, and it's like you find out later that Sherman Helmsley was gay.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? Real
I
gay.
did not know that.
He's gay.
That's why he was in the dry cleaning business. All right, so number 3.
Did you watch the 2019 special?
No, I did not.
There was a 2019.
There was a 2019 special.
Yeah.
He was dead by then,
It
though.
was produced by Jimmy Kimmel.
He was dead by then, though.
I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about the Jeffersons, the live action
Yeah, the live audience.
in front the live audience,
Yes.
and Jamie Foxx played Sherman Helmsley.
Oh, okay. No, I
Yeah,
didn't
that
know
was hilarious. That was actually pretty good. He actually flubbed the line and then like played it off really good, and everybody was just like going along with him. But yeah, man, Jamie Foxx, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
Number 3.
All right. So I'm taking you back to, I want to say probably early 80s here.
Okay.
And Robin Williams was probably one of the freaking most bright up-and-coming comedians in California circuit. When it came to the Comedy Store, Misty Shores comedy place, the San Francisco place, the San Francisco comedy scene, he was it. And to give him a freaking opportunity to do Mork and Mindy,
Yes.
my number 3.
Number 3.
He ran with it, and it gave him a chance, gave him a platform to be absolutely free and to just highlight his comedic talents. Of course, it was ABC, so some of it was toned down, but
I mean, way toned down compared to his comedy.
compared to his real comedy, yes. But his energy and his comedic talent was what got him through, and his chemistry with Pam Dauber was just freaking awesome, and they had a great supporting cast. They did really good, and Carter was right. It started off with Happy Days,
Yeah.
but it spinned off to its own thing, and once it did, he freaking let loose, and it was just freaking phenomenal. And when he would talk to Orson at the end, and he would do Nanu Nanu, it was just freaking great. I loved it.
It was the
awesome.
best part. You were always waiting for that whole thing.
Yeah,
so.
it was almost like Springer's Last Thought. Anyway, like Jerry Springer's Last Thought.
Oh, I was like, what are we talking about? Yes, like Springer, like that's
Like Springer's
old.
Last Thought.
That's
Now, and you know what? And even though some people would say that once Jonathan Winters got involved and he was the kid, it went downhill. But I thought it was actually pretty funny when Jonathan Winter, because in their alien form, it was Benjamin Button. It was adult first and then baby at the end, right? So either way, it was still fantastic. One of my favorite shows. I wore the suspenders in 2nd grade. I have pictures to prove it. All right, number 2.
He wasn't cool.
That was not cool.
Number 2.
Number 2. I'm gonna get a lot of crap. I don't care, but it's Benson.
Really?
I freaking loved Benson.
Really?
I loved Benson. Now, and it's gonna be in my honorable mention, but Soap was actually a freaking show that I watched a lot. I didn't put it in my honorable mentions, but I just liked Benson so much more because he was, I know that he worked for the governor, and I want to say Richard Noble played the governor, and he was just so freaking absent-minded and clueless and perfection comedy gold. I love Richard Noble in that, but Renee Auberjonis, who played, oh my God, I can't even remember his name, but either way, he was in this cast, and he was just absolutely fantastic, and he was just... Who? Clayton, yes, he was absolutely fantastic. I love him in this show. But Robert Guillaume, man, the legend, the freaking, the one that actually, he was one of the spotlights as a butler in Soap, and he was the lieutenant governor. He turned into the lieutenant governor in
Who was the butler
Benson.
from Silver Spoons?
Who was the butler in Silver Spoons?
I thought it was the same guy from Benson.
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. Anyway.
That will not be in my honorable mentions, by the way. Even though I like the Silver Spoon's dad, he was cool. But either way, Benson was just absolutely one of my favorite shows growing up. I used to watch it all the freaking time. Robert Guillaume, legend.
All right.
Number 1!
No!
And I'm like, I don't know if you can give me shit for
I'm
this.
gonna give you shit for it because
I don't think you are. Based on our 20s, based on the lifestyle that we lived, going to British Cougar, medical, treasury,
Is it Night Court?
was Cheers.
It makes sense.
Cheers is absolutely
in number
one of
one.
my favorite shows, which I actually
Compared on your list, I would have put Jeffersons above Cheers.
I just like Cheers so much because of Woody, because of Coach, which they were basically the same fucking character. But Woody, Coach, Sam, Norm, like everybody was just, even Diane, the square she was.
It was your neighborhood bar where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, and I just loved Cheers. And you know what? So when Cheers came out, I was more or less like 11 or 12 years old, going 13, around there. So when I was in my 20s, I understood it. Like, I never vocalized it, but I understood.
Well, in our 20s, we made every bar our Cheers.
Well, we only had one, but I understood where that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that everything, that connection that you make with total strangers sometimes. And how special that is, because sometimes you get pretty good advice from people that you don't even freaking know. And to the point where there's actually at times an extended family with the people that you have, because you actually celebrate Christmas. We've celebrated Christmas at bars.
Yeah,
We've celebrated Thanksgiving at bars.
So basically, did we live out Cheers?
Yes, we did actually. So Cheers is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Woody Harrelson was freaking the best ever.
Did you ever wonder why Frasier never went to the bar in his Frasier was a spinoff?
Yeah, Frasier was a spinoff. And that's what I was saying.
Did you ever wonder why
Frasier
never went to, he never mentioned on Frasier, like, yeah, I'm going to the bar.
He was in Seattle.
Oh,
they were in Boston.
He had moved. Okay,
he moved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never caught that as a kid.
Yeah, but it was just a great cast of characters, and yes, Frasier Crane was one of them. It was just a freaking great show. The Tortellis.
Yeah,
I never saw that.
That was Carla's ex-husband. And it was a spin-off. So Cheers spawned the Tortellis. It was like short-lived. It was funny, but it didn't last. It was almost like a borderline Addams Family.
Oh, okay. And it didn't star Danny DeVito.
No. So it was Dan Hedaya that was Carla's ex-husband. He was a Tortelli, so it spinned off there, and then Frasier spinned off here, but obviously Frasier was the more successful one. All right, honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
I got a shitload.
Oh God, we're gonna breeze through these here real quick. All right, so one that we didn't both talk about. I'm gonna try to talk about one we didn't actually talk about. Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers. Balky. Don't be ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous. Yeah. That's Surge.
That was like
Surge.
I felt like it was introducing the world to immigrants. In a sense, where it's like, hey, all their traditions, even though it was more, I almost kind of feel like Borat his character is based on Balky from Perfect Strangers.
Borat, Balky? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, cool. Okay, so we talked about Cheers. We talked about Frasier. I'm gonna say Married with Children was more of an 80s show, and I know it was in our 90s top 5, but it was more of an 80s show. That show got
its 3 years in the 80s and the rest in the 90s.
Anyway, so that show became its thing in the 80s. All right. I'm gonna also go with Silver Spoons because it's a prequel to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That is Carlton when he's a little kid.
What the hell does Carlton have to do with what?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. I thought you were saying. Man, what is in this shit here?
I know, right? So anyway, it's a prequel to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hey, it had Aaron Gray from friggin' Bug Riders.
Look, I was happy that there was a rich little black kid in this show. It was like they could have just done a bunch of white people to put a rich black kid in there, and he was like kind of hung out with.
I hated Schroeder, bro. I loved his dad.
He was kind of annoying. Hey, look, the train going around the house was the most coolest thing that I ever saw.
But his dad was the shit. I loved his dad.
I also put, and this we're gonna go back and forth because I put this as an honorable mention, but I don't think I'm gonna talk about that one. But we're gonna do Growing Pains. I love Growing Pains.
Kirk Cameron, baby.
Kirk Cameron, and then if you want to talk about spinoff, his sister was in Full House.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And there were Growing Pains there too.
That is the ultimate family spinoff.
That it? That's all your honorable mentions?
Because we talked about everything else.
Okay, you know what? All right, Soap. Best cast, Billy Crystal was freaking phenomenal in that show. So, and of course,
felt like I was
Robert Guillaume, Gold.
I felt like I was too young for Soap. I felt like that Soap was written for like older people.
I had Alf. Okay. I had 227 because I just love Florence. I love Marla Gibbs. So I'm gonna give it to her.
I probably could have given that one as an honorable mention.
But I liked it more for her. I liked it more for her, Helen Martin, more than Jackie. Everybody loved it for Jackie. Yeah. I did not. I liked it more for
Jackie.
Marla Gibbs.
She was the Steve Urkel of
227. Yes, she was. All right, I had Growing Pains. I had Cosby Show, Family Ties. Okay, Golden Girls. We didn't talk about Golden Girls.
I mean, once again, another show that I felt like
was more in the 90s.
It was a mature comedy, and I was a kid, and I am aware of Golden Girls and seeing quite a few different episodes of Golden Girls, but the subject matter was way too much for me.
And there was a spinoff of Empty Nest.
A bunch of old people having sex that frequently kind of made me feel like a little uneasy.
Yeah, it's with the mayonnaise on it. Forget it. All right, so okay, I had Happy Days. Who's the boss?
Yeah. Who's the boss?
Who's the boss, baby? Who's the boss? You got Webster, Different Strokes. Stay away from that bike shop.
Why didn't I put that in my minutes? I scratched it off my list. It's Different Strokes.
Yes, Different Strokes. And you were talking about master debating and didn't have Different Strokes in there. All right, so the other one was WKRP in Cincinnati.
That's a good show.
I freaking love that show. Howard Hessman as freaking Johnny Fever, the best ever. Yeah. So I'm gonna give it that.
What was the black guy? He did
Venus Flytrap, baby. Give me all on that Venus Flytrap, baby. We did a show. I would definitely be
Venus Flytrap.
No, you be Venus Flytrap. I gotta be Johnny Fever.
I don't think you can
Manny
do that,
Fever.
sir.
That's me. All right. So the next one. All right. So
can we do that? Can we?
I am going to
as WKRP. Would anybody even get that?
There is 2 shows that I'm gonna talk about when I lived in Cali again.
Okay.
And that was Too Close for Comfort.
Okay, I barely remember that show.
But I used to watch that show. It was really, really cool because I remember this like it was yesterday. There was a block. I want to say it was Mondays or Tuesdays. It was a block in the 80s, and it was Too Close for Comfort, not in any specific order. Too Close for Comfort, Amanda's Place, which was
never seen it.
Yeah, it was with B. Arthur. And I thought it was gonna be like Maude.
Did she do Maude?
Yeah, she did Maude. I thought it was gonna be like Maude, which she basically played the same character, but she owned her own hotel. And so Amanda's Place, Too Close for Comfort, Three's Company, and this show with Paul Rodriguez. And this is the one that actually was kind of special to me in California, because I remember I had like so many different diversities on the base. And it was like, I had Chinese on one side, African American on another side, and then a bunch
segregated
of segregated. No. It was just a different, diverse group of families.
Separate but equal on the base.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, but Latinos.
In Black History Month, sir.
But Latinos, it was just not that many Latinos on the base, and there was a show with Paul Rodriguez called AKA Pablo. And I saw that show like all the freaking time because
Had
of
to be a
freaking
regional
Paul
show, 'cause I
Rodriguez.
never
No,
saw
this
that.
is old school, bro. I'm talking old school, bro.
This
It-
is like 1980 on the dot.
Yes, bro. This is like, yes, I'm talking like freaking, okay, so I was there when Empire came out. That's where I saw Empire in Cali. So it was like 83, 84 around there. And when that freaking block was there with Too Close for Comfort, Amanda's Place, blah, blah, blah. AKA Pablo was one of the shows on there. And I remember being so gravitated to that because that's the first time, I had never seen Chico and the Man before, so I can't really say that. But that was the first time that I saw Latins on the screen.
Right.
So AKA Pablo was one of the reasons why I started really like, I was really intrigued by the freaking comedy that Paul Rodriguez was putting out there.
Okay.
So, which his son is a freaking phenomenal skater, by the way, if you don't freaking know Paul Rodriguez son. But anyway, that's where I freaking was like, wow, man, that's like one of my own, right? So yeah, AKA Pablo, if you've never freaking seen it, check it out.
All right. I think the last one I forgot was Small Wonder.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what Pablo thing is.
Where even?
Small Wonder, a show about a cybernetic scientist. This is basically Terminator, but he decided not to have any more kids.
So Dyson, the prequel.
Yeah, basically, but White Dyson.
Dyson.
Makes a daughter who is also the maid to the house. So he was like, hey, I made this girl. She'll be the maid, but I will treat her as my own. But I will not actually make a child, even though I have 2 or 3
What
other
is this
children.
called?
It's called Small Wonder.
That's awful, dude.
And it was like,
That's so bad.
It was look, I know people talk about like child acting, but it was like, sometimes child acting is not good, but when you make child acting pretend to be a robot, it's very bad. But it was an interesting show and very entertaining for a little kid. Little me was very entertained by
AKA
this show.
Terrence. Got it.
Little me was very entertained by this show.
Terrence, take us home!
All right, so I will say this now. You guys don't have a top 5 list because you're not old enough.
Well, in all fairness, there's a lot of, people our age that have their own top 5.
Right. I've seen our demographics. You guys aren't old enough to write
Zach, Jeff, Joe, they're all freaking on
You guys
our
better
age
write it.
group.
You guys better write a top 5 in the comments because that's the only top 5s we're getting.
I
Because
think even- I
nobody
think even
else
our-
watching this show.
I think in our good friends at Countdown, JC and
Right.
Seti, they probably have seen some of these
so.
shows.
The challenge has been thrown out. The gauntlet is there. Write a top 5.
Nobody has seen AKA Pablo. I guarantee you that.
Nobody's seen Small Wonder either.
Exactly. All right.
But if for some particular reason you somehow grew up in the 80s and you actually remember these TV shows, please put your top 5 list in the comments below. I would love to see it. Please give me some more random ass regional TV shows that nobody else has seen in the rest of the world.
Like Out of This World.
I've seen Out of This World.
Nobody else has seen it.
You've not seen Out of This World?
Yes, I have seen Out of This World. But I only saw it because the mom was the lady from Saturday Night Fever.
Okay, true. But anyway, so also too, if you
Pascal, Donna
somehow
Pascal,
stumbled across this 80s top 5 list and you're not a child of the 80s, what the hell made you click on this video? But since we have you here, let's go ahead and get you to subscribe as well as click the notification button so that way when we get to the 70s and the 60s,
That's gonna be
really
fun.
have a mind blown about like what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Freaking WandaVision. Thanks. Anyway, for Carla over here sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing, and Aspen.
Helps a lot.
Oh yeah, she helps a lot.
She was a fact checker.
She was fact checker. That's right. Aspen and Art, where the hell they're at? I'm Manny.
I'm sorry.
And we'll see you next time.
Real quick, if you're still here, because we do these into the video little blooper things. If you're still here, look down. There's a link here for Patreon. If you guys like the show, please give us money. We'll take a penny. We'll take a nickel. We'll take a dime. We'll take $1. We have some stuff on there that we're giving away on Patreon if you do contribute, because trust me, we need help. We want to buy new equipment, and we need an editor. Somebody who doesn't have to stay up in the middle of the night. Or they don't have to stay up in the middle, but I won't have to do it. So please, down patreon.com/thegoods. It's in the link. Please do it. We appreciate it.